Welcome to Business News in Kenya today. Today is 5th of August, and I want to share the biggest business news for you to know what is happening, why the piece of news is important, and also how it can benefit you directly in case you are an investor or even a citizen in Kenya. You are all much welcomed to Kenya Finance. My name is Afagza Sifuna. I am a finance expert and qualified accountant who brings you amazing videos each and every day about investing and making money. In case those are kind of topics which you like, kindly consider subscribing to this channel so that you don't miss out on such amazing videos that I make each and every day. And I will still add it. Drop a like on this video. Having said that, the biggest stories coming out of the country today, the first one I want to talk about is about Safaricom sale and World Bank cash, which is going to boost Kenya's Forex reserves. Of course, we all know the government did cede 15% of its stake in Safaricom about a month ago, and in return it got upwards of 200 billion Kenya shillings from the Vodacom group through the Vodafone Kenya Limited. So that money, together with World Bank cash, is aimed at boosting Kenya's Forex reserve. Okay? And why this matters is because higher reserves strengthen investor confidence, do reduce pressure on the shilling, and make it easier for Kenya to pay for imports such as fuel, medicine, and machinery. Because we know as a country, we typically do import those products or commodities. How does it benefit you directly as an individual out there? This is a key thing for you because it's going to assist stabilize the Kenya shilling. And a more stable Kenya shilling helps you keep import prices in check because at least you're going to have an estimate of how you're going to be doing business, okay? It's going to assist also within the country be able to stabilize the price of fuel and basically ensure inflation is under control, therefore protecting your purchasing power. And this is important because in case the Kenya shilling is run away, right, it's going to trigger inflation. Inflation, in case it increases, is going to make the CBK raise its bank rate, therefore also making the cost of financing very expensive. And you as a consumer out there, because of the increase in inflation, you lose your purchasing power. That is the first piece of news. And then the second piece of news coming out of Kenya today is that Kenyans did lose 491 million Kenya shillings in cryptocurrency theft through SIM jacking. Guys, we all know, of course, in the most recent decade, we've seen diversification of assets and asset classes out there. And cryptocurrency has really come up being one of the assets which people have been purchasing and also holding through the different wallets out there. So Kenyans did lose 491 million in cryptocurrency theft through SIM jacking. And this was basically a cyber criminal thing where there was increased SIM swap attacks to gain control of victims' phone numbers, bypass security codes, and steal cryptocurrency worth hundreds of millions. Why this matters is because as more Kenyans invest digitally, cybercrime is also becoming one of the biggest financial risks that people are facing, both individuals and even investors. And this news is important because it benefits you by assisting you enhance your vigilance. This is just a reminder for you to strengthen your security, okay, to enable app-based authentications, for example, locking of your SIM cards with your mobile providers in case of any eventuality, and you avoiding storing large cryptocurrency balances in exchange wallets out there, okay? That's the second biggest piece of news coming out of Kenya. And then the third biggest piece of news, which I know is going to excite you, is that Nairobi satellite towns have seen land and housing boom sales reduce. Guys, we've all seen how the satellite towns around Nairobi, talk about the Rongais, Kiserian, talk about Thikas, Machakos, Kiambu, towns within Kiambu, the likes of Kikuyu, etc., really saw their property and housing boom over the past decade or so. So it looks like this is actually slowing down a bit. And this so because the rapid rise in land and housing prices in Nairobi's outskirts is beginning to cool off after years of explosive growth as supply catches up with demand. This matters because it suggests that the property market is normalizing, therefore giving buyers greater bargaining power instead of chasing rising prices. Because the truth is that people have been chasing rising prices. So in case you out there, how is this beneficial to you? It is beneficial to you because if you are planning to buy land or build a home, you may now have better opportunity to negotiate lower prices and avoid buying at peak. Reason being, suppliers are also keen and desperate to get buyers of the different properties. It might be an opportunity for you to maybe negotiate much harder and buy at affordable prices instead of peak. And then the fourth biggest piece of business news coming out of Kenya is that Kenya Railways targets courier and parcel business. Guys, I think this is a late entry or a late venture, but it is exciting that Kenya Railways is now targeting courier and parcel business. And this so because Kenya Railways plans to expand into parcel and courier delivery by leveraging the standard gauge railway or SGR and existing rail networks. Why this matters is because the move is aimed at diversifying Kenya Railways revenue while increasing competition in Kenya's logistics industry. Of course, we all know there have been logistics companies out there. Most of the bus companies, G4S, DHL, Wells Fargo, and other companies which have been spearheading the courier services, okay? So, Kenya Railways is looking to also get into that, utilizing its SGR network. How will this benefit you directly? In case you are a business or even an online seller who's getting actual physical commodities, right, or doing deliveries, businesses and online sellers could enjoy faster and potentially cheaper delivery services, assuming Kenya Railways prices for courier services is going to be lower, okay? And this is going to end up lowering logistics costs over time. Assuming the entry point of Kenya Railway is cheaper, it might force some other couriers to also consider doing price adjustment for logistics services. And then the fifth biggest news coming out of Kenya's business world is that banks have identified the sectors expected to drive Kenya's economy. This is an exciting one because look at it this way. What exactly is happening in this context is that commercial banks expect sectors such as agriculture, manufacturing, infrastructure, financial services, and technology to be among the strongest contributors to economic growth of the country. And this is very important and is informed by data. And this matters because commercial banks directly do lending towards industries they believe will grow much faster. This makes that a useful indicator for businesses and investors. When banks say specific sectors are prone to grow much faster and contribute to the country's economy, best believe is the truth. And that's so because the banks have visibility into people's financing and business financing tendencies, because businesses tell them reasons as to why they are seeking financing. And also, based on their own risk assessment, they do determine which sectors or type of business that they do lend to. So in case they say specific sectors are prone to causing the economy to grow, then it means it is an interesting and credible source of information. So in case you are out there, what can you do and why does this matter to you specifically? In case you are an entrepreneur, entrepreneurs can identify sectors with better access to financing, okay? Because the banks have already said which sectors are prone to causing growth in the economy. And in case now you as an entrepreneur, you identify sectors prone to better access to financing, this can really assist you tap into that particular funding, okay? And also, investors out there can focus on companies operating in high growth industries. I'm talking about investors in the different, maybe stock market, maybe the different bonds, you name it. They can target those sectors which are primed to grow, because in case they invest in the stocks in those companies, they're going to enjoy share price appreciation and eventually capital gain in case they invest in those companies with high growth potential. And then the sixth biggest business news coming out of Kenya today is that Kenya has lost its top spot in startup funding in Africa. And I'm saying so because Kenya was among the top countries when it comes to startup funding, but looks like that is actually changing. And this is so because Kenya has been overtaken by other African countries in attracting startup investment, signaling slower venture capital inflow into the local innovation ecosystem. As a country, we need to bolster our innovation ecosystem. but looks like there's been slow flow of capital into the local innovation ecosystem. Why does this matter? It matters because lower startup funding could slow innovation, could slow job creation, and the growth of emerging technology companies. And that can be something bad for the country because we aim to see innovation expand rapidly. We aim to see through innovation there being creation of jobs, and also we aim to see emerging technologies gaining traction in the country. So this slowdown in funding could impact this negatively. How does this benefit you directly as an individual or even entrepreneur out there? For entrepreneurs out there, competition for funding has increased, okay? Therefore, making strong business models and profitability more important than ever. So in case you are an entrepreneur, it isn't business as usual, more so in the startup ecosystems in the country. You need to ensure you bolster your business models for you to be able to tap into shrinking startup funding into the country. And then the seventh biggest piece of news from the business world in Kenya is that there is a new focus on product labeling rules. And the background for this is that there's been some criticism about some Chinese outlets in the country having their products labeled in Chinese Mandarin language instead of a language which local consumers can understand. And this is a key thing because businesses are being reminded of Kenya's legal requirements on product labeling, including accurate information on ingredients, expiry dates, manufacturer details, and safety warnings. So imagine, in case the writings are in a foreign language, how will the local consumers understand? And this matters because proper labeling of products does protect consumers while ensuring businesses comply with the law. So it isn't something that needs to be negotiated. It is something which needs to be executed because consumers need to be protected by all means. This matters to you out there because as a consumer, clearer labeling of products is going to help you make safer purchasing decisions and also identify counterfeit or substandard products because you can be able to read, see, and understand based on the ingredients and also based on expiry dates and so forth. Therefore, you're going to be protected, okay? And then the eighth and final biggest piece of business news coming out of Kenya which I want to talk to you about is that the Kenya Re CEO challenges the attempt removal from office. Of course, I did make a very comprehensive video about Kenya Re, how the stock is performing at the NSE, if it's a good buy stock or investors need to sell and so forth. In case you haven't checked that video, go and check it. I will attach the link up here in the description. But then again, what you need to understand is that Kenya Re has been having management challenges, ranging from the CEO office to even the board, where National Treasury has gained control over appointment of directors and gained about 6-7 months ago. So specific to the CEO, he's been having ongoing court cases. And specific this time is that the managing director of Kenya Re is contesting efforts to remove him and disagreements linked to recruitment and procurement decisions, which of course he's been tied to. Why is this an important matter? It is an important matter because leadership disputes in listed and state-linked companies can affect investors' confidence, governance, and business continuity. Investors out there and in stock markets out there hate uncertainty. So the ongoing disputes actually are corroding investors' confidence. In case you are out there, you as an investor, how is this beneficial to you? If you are an investor, governance developments can influence company performance and should be monitored alongside financial results. So utilize this as a data point for you to continue monitoring Kenya Re stock, while also utilize other fundamentals to make informed decisions, because at the end, you are the investor in the company stock. You are the investor and you know exactly what you are looking for based on your investment goal. Guys, those are the 8 biggest business news coming out of Kenya today. Which one have you found exciting? Comment down below in the comment section. Let's continue discussing. Cheers, guys, and I wish you all a great day as you go about your business.